On July 19, 2026, at MetLife Stadium, the final whistle of the World Cup confirmed Spain as champions of the world. Cameras swarmed Lamine Yamal. Commentators screamed about Ferran Torres. But if you watched closely, really closely, the most important man on that field wasn't a player at all. He was a 65-year-old former left-back from a small wine town, standing quietly on the touchline. And here's the part almost nobody talking about this final understands. This trophy wasn't won in 1 month in America. It was won over 13 years, in empty stadiums, in youth team hotels, in tournaments you never watched. To understand how Spain became world champions, you have to go back to the worst day of this man's life. October 16th, 2011. Luis de la Fuente is fired. Not from Real Madrid, not from Barcelona, from Alavés. In the Spanish lower divisions, after just 11 games. He's 50 years old. No famous name, no powerful friends, no highlight reel. In football, that combination usually means one thing: the end. What followed was a stretch of unemployment so long and so brutal that the Spanish press gave it a name. 78 Mondays in the sun. 78 times, this man woke up on a Monday morning with no team to train, no match to prepare, no evidence that football would ever want him back. Think about that for a second. 78 consecutive weeks of silence. Most people break. Most people quit. De la Fuente did something else. And that decision is the reason Spain has a second star on its shirt today. Instead of disappearing, he became a student. While football ignored him, he refused to ignore football. He showed up at other coaches' training sessions. He sat in stands studying Marcelo Bielsa's work at Athletic Club, taking notes like a man half his age chasing his first job. He had a family, a shrinking bank account, and every rational reason to walk away. He stayed. And then, in May 2013, the door cracked open. Barely. A former teammate recommended him to the Spanish Federation for a job with the youth national teams. The contract they offered him lasted 3 months. 3 months. That's all the faith Spanish football had in Luis de la Fuente. But here's the detail that tells you everything about this man. Before he'd coached a single session, he started looking for a permanent home in Madrid. Everyone else saw a temp. He saw a beginning. And what he built from that 3-month contract might be the most patient project in the history of international football. Because here's what nobody realized at the time. Not the press, not the fans, not even the federation. When De La Fuente walked into that youth setup in 2013, Lamine Yamal was 5 years old. Rodri had never played a professional match. The team that would one day conquer the world didn't exist yet. It was scattered across Spain in academy dormitories and school playgrounds. And this fired, forgotten coach was about to meet them all, years before the world knew their names. What happened next follows a pattern so clean, so almost mathematically perfect, that once you see it, you can never unsee it. 4 numbers: 3, 5, 8, 15. Remember them, because they are the secret architecture of this World Cup title. 3. In 2015, De La Fuente's under-19 side won the European Championship, beating Russia in the final. He called that team insatiable, kids who wanted to win everything and took every defeat personally. Buried in that squad were 3 teenagers who, 11 years later, would be world champions: Rodri, Mikel Merino, Unai Simon. Nobody outside Spain was paying attention. That was the point. While the world watched senior football, the foundation was being poured in the dark. 5. In 2019, now in charge of the under-21s, he did it again. A European title, this time against Germany. Fabian Ruiz scored the opener and was named player of the tournament. Dani Olmo got the second. Look at that final squad list and 5 future 2026 world champions stare back at you. Fabian, Olmo, Mikel Oyarzabal, Merino, Simon. The group wasn't just promising anymore. It was learning something far more dangerous: how to win finals. But the next chapter of this story isn't a victory. And strangely, it might be the most important chapter of all. 8. Tokyo, 2021. The Olympic final. Spain against Brazil. Extra time. Defeat. 8 members of the future world champion squad lived that heartbreak together. Simon, Cucurella, Eric Garcia, Zubimendi, Pedri, Merino, Olmo, Oyarzabal. And this is where De La Fuente's project reveals its true genius. He hadn't only watched these players win, now he had watched them lose, painfully, on a global stage. And he had watched exactly how each of them carried that pain. Which ones sank, which ones grew. Most national team coaches inherit players as strangers. De La Fuente was collecting something no tactics board can give you. He knew these men, not their positions, their souls. 15. Euro 2024. Spain wins the European Championship with 7 victories in 7 games. And from that champion squad, 15 players would walk into the 2026 World Cup. 3, 5, 8, 15. A staircase built over 11 years, 1 step per tournament, climbing quietly toward the top of the world, and running through every single step. 2015, 2019, 2021, 2024, 2 names appear every time, like a signature. Unai Simon and Mikel Merino. Every final, every heartbreak, every triumph. This is why De La Fuente's Spain feels telepathic. While other coaches spend training camps explaining their ideas, he can simply remind a player of a conversation they had 10 years ago. That's not continuity, that's collective memory. But if you think that's the most cinematic part of this story, wait until you hear who was standing in the opposite dugout at the final. Lionel Scaloni, world champion, architect of Argentina's golden era, and De La Fuente's former student. This is not a metaphor. In 2017, De La Fuente taught at the Spanish Federation's coaching school in Las Rozas. Sitting in his classroom was a recently retired Argentine player named Lionel Scaloni, taking his first steps into management. Scaloni has said it himself. Luis was a huge help to that entire class. He even admitted, before the final, that Spain plays exactly the football his own staff dreams of. So understand what MetLife Stadium actually hosted on July 19th. Not just Spain versus Argentina. Not just Yamal versus Messi. A teacher facing his most successful student with the biggest prize in sport between them, the final exam. In front of billions. And the way the teacher won that exam tells you everything about what he'd been building all along. Because here's what separates De La Fuente from every tactical genius you've heard of. His most powerful weapon isn't on a whiteboard. During this World Cup, Alex Baena revealed something remarkable. He said that De La Fuente sometimes paid more attention to the injured players, the ones training alone away from the group, than to his starters. Think about what that means. When you're fit and playing, everyone surrounds you. When you're hurt, the crowd disappears. That's exactly when this coach moves closer. After Spain dismantled France in the semi-final, De La Fuente didn't talk about pressing schemes. He praised the substitutes, men who hadn't played a single minute of the biggest match of their lives and went straight to training anyway, without ego, without sulking. For most coaches, family is a word for press conferences. For De La Fuente, it's a tactical concept. In his system, the relationships are the structure, and the results are terrifying. On the entire road to the final, Spain conceded 1 goal. 1? And yet, don't mistake this for nostalgia. This is not the Tiki-Taka Museum. De La Fuente kept the sacred core of Spanish football, the control of the game through the pass, but he refused to embalm 2010. His Spain plays wider, faster, more vertical. It uses Yamal and Nico Williams like blades on the wings. It launches early forward passes. It counterattacks without shame. He didn't destroy tiki-taka. He added to it speed, directness, a killer instinct the old Spain sometimes lacked. Style for him isn't a religion. It's a language. And his team speaks it fluently in every dialect. Now here's the final twist. Because this story almost didn't happen. When De La Fuente was promoted to the senior job in December 2022, Spain shrugged. No superstar name, no revolution, just the quiet youth coach, seen as a convenient internal solution. In his second official match, Spain lost to Scotland, and the doubts exploded. Could a man with no elite club career command stars? Was the jump too big? Months later, he answered with the Nations League. A year later, the Euros. 7 games, 7 wins. And now, the World Cup. The man everyone treated as a waiting room turned out to be the destination. Which brings us back to that touchline in New Jersey and one last promise you need to know about. Before the tournament, Marc Cucurella, the same Cucurella who dyed his hair red after the Euros, vowed that if Spain won the World Cup, he would tattoo Luis de la Fuente's face on his body. Alex Baena joined the pact, refusing to leave Cucu alone. Spain won. So somewhere out there, the face of a man who once spent 78 Mondays unemployed, rejected, forgotten, written off at 50, may soon be inked permanently onto the skin of world champions he raised from boys. Luis de la Fuente never bought a champion team. He never inherited one. He waited for it to grow up because he was the one growing it. And the next time someone tells you it's too late, that you've been forgotten, that your moment has passed, remember the man from Harrow. 78 Mondays of silence, 13 years of patience, 1 golden trophy. If this story moved you the way it moved us, subscribe, because the next forgotten genius is already out there, and we'll find them